The following podcast is being brought to you by the Defy Life Podcast Network.
Welcome to Aftergate, powered by the Defy Life Network. Aftergate is a podcast series highlighting Colgate alumni of color in their professional endeavors aftergate. Aftergate is hosted by Alvin Glimpf, aka Al, and Herman Dubois, aka Jerry. We are doing Aftergate because Colgate University has produced innovators who have changed the world every day, yet many alumni of color and the mainstream Colgate community are unaware of the amazing accomplishments of alums of color.
Welcome to another episode of Aftergate. It is awesome to be here. Looking forward to this conversation. It has been an interesting ride so far. We have had some and me and Jerry was talking after our last one, like we're batting 1,000% because each of our conversations in their own special way have been amazingly fascinating and we've learned so much. So looking forward to this conversation and catching up with one of Colgate's finest. And for all those who don't know, that's what Aftergate is talking about. We are literally talking to some of the finest people who have ever entered Colgate and graduated Colgate, alumni of color who are out doing their thing. So looking forward to this conversation. But first, before we get there, I gotta always check in with my co-pilot, usually though the pilot, going back to our flag football days when he was my star quarterback throwing me the rock. What's up, Jerry? How you doing, brother?
All is well. Just blessed to be part of all this and another day in the Sunshine State. And although we've got some thunderstorms and all, it's all good. I've come to realize that rain is just nature's way of saying slow down, take a step back, and give yourself a chance to rejuvenate. And so I welcome the rain, welcome the storms.
Yes.
And yeah, man, just ready to rock. Just ready to rock.
That rain brings water, and imagine life without water.
I mean,
so it is all part of this.
Two-thirds of the earth is
yes.
We're killing it. So you gotta do a better job. Time, I'm a little biased.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Down in Miami, I'm mad at you. All is good usually down there. I'm actually calling from hey, every time I come there, the sun is shining. Even when it rains, it only rains for like 30 seconds. So
yeah.
I'm up in Raleigh, North Carolina. So I'm actually in a hotel room. My first getting a taste of doing Aftergate on the road, right?
On location.
On location. Looking forward to it. We're gonna do that in the future. But I'm up here. One of my childhood elementary buddies is having a 50th birthday party.
Awesome.
And so me and Gina rode up. And I mean, literally, I know this kid since I was 9, and we was homies, right? He taught me the value of brotherhood and having a good friend by your side. So that I was right. And as a good friend, by the time I meet you 10 years later, I know what a friend is.
I'm just thinking, do I even know anyone, or am I in contact with anybody who's 9 or 10 or 11? I would honestly have to say,
how far do you go back?
Yeah, not including family members, just straight up friends. Wow, I would probably, and it's not even that I'm still in touch, but if he was to call me to say, hey, we would probably start conversation like we've never lost dry. But it would be Lonnie, who's in Atlanta. Lonnie, yes. Who I met, he was the first kid when I moved into the neighborhood at 12 years old. He was the guy next door. And my dad was like, go outside and play and make some friends, and he was the first guy that I met, and we were the same age and played ball and just rocked out and became boys for life after that. So I owe him a follow-up call and reach out and see how he's doing.
Shout out to childhood friends because they're your ride or dies when you were kids. Some of them you keep in contact with till you're middle age. So mine goes back to kindergarten. My oldest friend, that's Rodney.
Wow. Yeah,
Rodney go back to kindergarten.
Oh wow.
But tell me about your day, man. I know you have been Colgate out this week, right? You've been killing it in terms of Colgate engagement.
There been
Just
some
give me a
things.
quick update on what you did today.
Well, I had a beautiful opportunity to be part of a project that is being put together by another one of Colgate's alumni of color greats, Jackie King Howell, who is putting together a documentary based on a core group of men of color who attended the university sort of during slavery, immediately after slavery ended, and went on to do amazing things in our society, from presidents of HBCUs to civil rights leaders. And she's basing the documentary on the book written by Diane Draconi Metamark, and she's gathering interviews with other alumni of color and putting together just awesome project that will be released soon. And so it was a great opportunity to just have the discussion with her that led to my experience as a man of color, and how that Colgate experience impacted not only my time there, but how it shaped me as a man in the rest of my life. And so I was honored to be a part of that, and look forward to the final project that will be coming out. I know they're going to be shopping it to the film festivals, and Colgate may be doing a release. I know that there's a couple of networks like CBS talking to them about doing a special on it. So happy for Jackie, and happy for Colgate that that's something that's coming out.
Appreciate that, and looking forward to hearing more. Colgate has some amazing creators in its legacy, and she's one of those, and it's a great story to tell.
Absolutely.
So let's bring our guests into the room.
Absolutely.
Yes. So let's welcome to Aftergate officially Miss Joy Harrington, class of '99. Welcome to Aftergate, Joy.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nice to be here with you.
You are one of the good people that Colgate has produced. Like, there's a lot of ways to describe us, but as I've come through our journey, there are some people that are actually good people. Like, you leave their presence with a good energy about them, and so that's my recollection. And as I think about when I think about Joy, what's my memory of her? It's like good energy. And I think as I like to share my memories of our guests, the people I do know, you're one of them folks. So welcome to Aftergate, homie.
I appreciate that, and I am grateful for that. It's very good to know that leaving people with good energy. I think that's half the battle while we're on this plane.
Well, true indeed, true indeed. Um, what I would like to know is I want to hear your story. So while we have met and we've been in the same place and at different events, um, I can't say I know Joy's story. So I know your class of '99, and so that means you are entering Colgate in '95, which is an interesting time in this world. So if you could take us back to that time and place, paint the story, paint the picture, give us some context. What's life like? What's the world like? What are you like in '95?
Well, what I remember, and this is going to sound strange, I think, but if you jump forward to 9/11, and what started to happen after that horrific tragedy was the rising star of Rudolph Giuliani, right? And America's mayor, right? Meanwhile, at that same time, in grad school at that time, am sitting there going, Rudy Giuliani? Have you all lost your minds? So that goes back to my childhood and then going up into high school and prepping for college of living in New York City under that man and seeing a person that if you were black,
Tell it.
know,
Tell it.
brown kid from New York City, you didn't have anything good to think, feel, say about Rudy Giuliani, and then to hear people, in my opinion, threaten us with a possible Giuliani presidency
Mm.
on top of the trauma of 9/11, that's New York. That's like where I was as a kid, those formative years, middle school, high school, prepping for college, was in the middle of and in the aftermath of Rudy Giuliani. And coming into this recognition and awareness that things are dramatically different for us than they otherwise should be based on our merits and the things that we've contributed. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I grew up in
BK?
the, yes, I did. Um,
Yes.
I grew up in the Wyckoff Gardens projects on Wyckoff Street that people who are from Brooklyn have never heard of a lot,
I've
many
heard of
times.
Wyckoff.
Right. But that's where I grew up.
Okay.
But my upbringing, you know, single mom, me, my brother, my grandma, living in the projects. I, but you couldn't have told, I didn't know I wasn't a Cosby kid. It was maybe I was at
Mm.
Colgate when I started to read about all the pathologies associated with children growing up in single parent households. And I was like, wait, who are you talking
Yes.
about? That wasn't, I, that wasn't my experience at all. I didn't think I was lacking a thing. I didn't go without. We went to Disney World twice before I went to high school. There were things that I just didn't associate with myself, and therefore, as starting to come of age at the time of Yusuf Hawkins,
Mm-hmm.
and all of these different events, all of the strife in Crown Heights, all of those
Mm-hmm.
things, and starting to
Mm-hmm.
see these things firsthand. And even as a kid, being um, straight A student and just very studious, just a good kid, um, thinking all you have to do is work really hard and be nice, and everything will be fine, everything will be great. And then beginning to see that that's not at all how it worked. That's never how it worked. And then coming into that knowledge, that realization, and that full embracing of actual facts as I prepared to go to college. I watched a lot of TV growing up, so
Like
when it
many of us.
yeah, so when it came time to pick a college, there was an image I had in my head, and it was rolling hills and ivy covered buildings and trees and all these different
Mm-hmm.
things. And I wanted to select a college that seemed to impress people when I said it.
Hmm.
One of those was Colgate University, which I had never heard of before I started planning to go to college. I swear I must have picked Colgate out of a book when I was looking for places that weren't too far
Wow.
from New York City. It was accidental. Um, I had a number of HBCUs on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Howard, Spelman were top of my list. A couple of big name state colleges that everybody's aware of, probably through sports more than anything else. I did play Division One. I did play basketball in high school and got recruited to a couple of Division One schools, but I wasn't interested in any of them. Um, there was Brandeis. I didn't want to go to Brandeis. And there was Fairfield in Connecticut. This is funny. I went to visit Fairfield because I was being recruited, and I went to Fairfield um, and arrived on campus and was spending time with the basketball team and went to the cafeteria, I think it was during lunch, and it was filled with white kids. And all of them I could tell, I was like, everyone here, I'd have to take out a mortgage
Mm.
to wear what they have on. I'm not even
Mm.
talking about like major things. I'm talking about clothes and jewelry. And I just sat there and was like, no. But this is how ignorant I was, right? That's how I felt at Fairfield. I would have gotten a full ride basketball scholarship to Fairfield. I turned it down because I was like, I don't like this vibe. This is not the school for me.
What high school did you attend?
Midwood High School,
Okay.
at Brooklyn College.
Hmm.
And I went to Colgate. Check how this happened. They brought us up for those inner city high school weekends
The
where
Subfrosh
everybody
weekend.
comes up at the same time.
Yes. Yes.
So it was a bunch of us just running all over the campus. And I was like, yeah, the vibe. I was like, this is it. This is hot. The setting is beautiful. It's not terribly, terribly far from New York City. I can get home. I have this cute little New England looking type little neighborhood, city thing, town, whatever. And just all of these black and brown kids just running all over the campus. I'm like, yeah, this will work. Met some girlfriends who I'm girlfriends with to this day
Nice.
on that bus trip up. And we were like, okay, bet we going here. I got into Howard, got into Spelman, and I had to take out loans and work study to go there. I didn't have to do that at Colgate. And that's ultimately what it all came down to. Once I was like, I'm not going to Fairfield to play basketball. I've got my HBCUs. I've got this school that checks all these boxes off in New York, that guidance counselors and teachers get all, oh, Colgate, ew, all impressed and fancified when I mention it to them. That I effectively don't have to pay for. I think I might have took out $4,000 in student loans or something. Or I can go to an HBCU. Again, this is the years of a different world. I
Hmm.
go to an HBCU, but might come out of there with tens of thousands of dollars in student debt. And at the time, growing up, it was the projects. It was just me. There wasn't any where else this money was going to magically come from. I just thought the smart thing was I'll go to this place that I thought was so cool when I went to visit it, and I don't have to pay anything to come. And then I arrive at Colgate and find it wasn't quite the same, just smack you upside the head with the wealth of these children that it was at Fairfield, but it started to dawn on me. I was like, oh, I see what I did here. Oh, this is Fairfield, just a little
Times two.
dustier, little granoli crunchier, but it's the same.
And then some.
And then some,
Mhm.
times two, like you said.
So I think it's amazing that this weekend, this Subfrosh weekend, that all of us have in common, as we one co-host have it in common, the guests that we've had, it is a common theme. And to me, this has to be the greatest marketing tool to get students of color to fall in love with this campus that they have ever come up with. And at the very least, your class of 99, so this is 95. Our previous guest, Clarence, he mentions that he attended this weekend in 72. So that's at
Oh,
least 25 years of them doing this. And I don't know if they still continue it, but it is definitely going down as the greatest marketing tool they've ever done. And I also think it's pretty interesting that your story sounds like another guest, Carla Beckford's story, in terms of meeting sisters on this trip. Y'all are like, yeah, we doing this, and are continued buddies to this day. So I think that's interesting. So tell us about your experience once you get there. Like, what's life like, your years, and what are some of your accomplishments? Give us a sense of what's Colgate like 95, 96, 97. What are we talking about then?
oh God. In a lot of ways, that feels like Colgate. Um, it's so it's really bizarre, where your college experience kind of takes its place in your life, because in many ways that seems to me like it was a million years ago, light years away in a galaxy far, far away.
Hmm.
Um, that sometimes it's difficult for me to really pull up memories like what did happen. Like I
Mm.
get past in the haze. When I get with old friends or up on campus, then that stuff comes back to you like I don't know what it is, like a scene from a movie. It just comes, bam, slams you right in the head, and then you can smell things, taste things, you remember where you sat, who was in the room, what they said, how. Like it just
Mm.
comes back that hard and fast. Um, when I got there, I was just determined to prove that I was just this amazing young person who had every right and ability to be in the space and place, and I would do nothing but impress and just blow people away, and I would do whatever I had to make that happen. I stayed in our beloved HRC my
Okay.
first
Okay.
year with my freshman year roommate, Tashawn Richards, who is a doctor in New York,
Mm.
who is also just one of just the most beautiful people you can know. And I remember being thrilled that Tashawn was my was my roommate. We had been up for, of course, OUS summer, which was a shocker to me when I got that message from Lisa De Leon over the summer saying, we'll
Mm-hmm.
see you in a couple weeks for OUS. And I was like, what now? I was like, what's this? And I had the nerve. Oh my God. See, the things start to come back to you. I think I called up or she called me. And I was like, wrong number, who this? Like, I was like, oh yeah, I saw that letter, but I think you guys made a mistake. I am not under the auspices of OUS, whatever that is. So I'll see you guys in August with everybody else. Got off the phone. She called me up and she was like, no. And I had to go back and I was like, I don't know who this lady is, but let me tell her, went back, got my the acceptance letter. And it was clear as day, bold print, said it right there, OUS. And I don't know. I guess I didn't read past congratulations. I must have stopped and been like, okay, well, I'll pick this back up sometime end of July.
Right.
I don't know what I was thinking. Um, and I was like, oh, you're right. Oh, okay, yeah, of course. I'll see you over the summer. Which was completely thrown for a loop. And then, I was the type of kid that my mother didn't check up on because it wasn't necessary. I went to
Mm-hmm.
school, I went to basketball practice, I came home and did my homework, turned things on time. Here's my grades. There was nothing to check up on. So, she wasn't all digging through the mail and like, oh, when do you have to be here? What time? And what do you have to bring? She wasn't doing that. She was waiting for me to tell her what was supposed to
Right.
happen. So I come to her, I'm like, I gotta be at Colgate in like 4 weeks, 3 weeks. I'm crazy time. And I gotta bring this stuff. And I don't be there for 6 weeks or something. And she was like, what? Oh, okay. All right, fine. And we get up there. This is embarrassing. That first night before my family went back to the city and left me there, I was like, get me the hell out of here. I'm not staying here. You're leaving me with these people. We were they were dormant in I think it was East Hall, which, is a completely different thing
Mm-hmm.
now than it
Mm-hmm.
was then. But
But on the
I was,
quad, right? East is off of the
yes,
quad. Yes.
on the quad.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I live in the project. I got a nicer room than this. I ain't staying here. You are not leaving me here. I don't know these people. There are trees for days, and I just realized that past the trees, there's nothing. And suddenly I was having this like kindergartner on the first day of school freak out.
Little
I was
attack,
like,
right? Right.
oh
Panic
no,
attack, like no, 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 no.
no,
The
ma'am.
infamous culture shock has begun.
The trauma. What's the term, Jerry?
Post-traumatic Colgate disorder, which I'm organizing a class action suit from alumni of color to get reparations in the idea of loan forgiveness.
Started right then for Joy.
Right, we got testimonies.
We have
Day one.
yes, we have a prime
Testi-
witness
Yeah, I guess it.
of yes.
That's all I can say. I was like,
Yeah.
So hold on. Okay,
She was hearing "Get out, get out."
I've had that child. I've seen that child. From whether it's a summer program or even I've seen that child at basketball practice. I'm just curious. Do you remember how your moms, how they reacted to you? Where they were like, I mean, I'm just curious. Like, what did they do to get you to stay?
I think if I'm remembering right, One, I tried to play it off like I was good, but I'm sure it was ridiculously obvious. I'm sure because I know I was like tears running, walking down the hill to the Colgate Inn, and then I tried to clean myself up, like, oh, this is going to be great. I know I tried to play it off. And the way she handled it was just like, she let me pretend I was okay. She was like, this is going to be great, right? Yeah, you totally got it. Well, we're going to leave in the morning, so,
Peace.
like, you'll be all right. And so
They got in
I
the car. They like, she not all right, right? She freaking out right now.
Right now. Keep driving. Speed up.
Don't look back. Do not look back. Do
I
not
was
look
like,
back.
oh, so that's how it's gonna be. I can't just be like, you taking me home tonight. I can't do it. Okay,
Mm-mm.
no, I'll play along. Sure, yeah, mom, I got it.
I got this.
And that was off to the races after that. Just took some deep breaths
Yeah.
and pulled it together. And that kind of summer camp type of atmosphere that was OUS, and then going to classes, like, classes, and uh, Lorenz Evans,
Lee.
Yeah.
Lee Evans, who
Yes.
did like our freshman seminar. And I, much respect to that brother because he scared me. But I also felt this sense of like, I really felt this sense of pride, like, no, okay, yeah, we're representing it. This group of people, these folks in this room are something special. They would be here.
Mm-hmm.
And he's letting us know right off the bat, like, I don't want to hear no excuses. Excuses are the tools of the incompetent.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Y'all remember? I'm sure everybody remembers that. And I was terrified, but in a way that made me go, I am not about to embarrass myself, anybody here, or anybody back at home. I'll be fine. And I suddenly felt just like, I think it really was the first time that I was frankly surrounded by a bunch of Black people in this kind of setting. I went to New York City public school for high school, but I was in Catholic school all the way from kindergarten to high school before I went to Midwood. And I was always one of two Black kids in a class. That was my experience. And I was never surrounded by Black excellence before I got to Colgate, which is bizarre, honestly.
Right.
Colgate.
Right.
But that was my experience. And so it really did give me such a boost of pride after that initial kind of, oh my God, don't leave me here. And so to get through the summer with that band of brothers and sisters, and again, girlfriends that I have to this day, it was a blessing. And here I was before that going, I don't need that. I don't need to go up there for that. You don't need me to do that. So when I came back for real, when everybody was coming up and all the freshmen were coming up, I felt like I owned the place. I knew where everything was. I knew where the coop was. I knew where our mail was. I knew
You got swag. You got swag.
Yes, yes. I had my shirt. I knew who my roommate was going to be. Like, Tashawn's my roommate. It's going to be lit. Like, I was like, I'm good. Bouncing up on the campus. I'm pulling up. I see other kids looking all nervous. I'm like, yeah, that's all right. I know where everything is. I know my classes. I met the professors. I'm good. Honey, we went to HRC, started loading our stuff, and then all the festivities started to begin on the quad. So I'm like, girl, I'm going to see you later. I'm going to go up here and meet my freshman seminar class, and we go, and then I'll see you later. I'm all pumped. Everyone who knows me has heard this story from me at least 5 times. And I've told it to them. They've heard it. If they listen to this, they're like, oh, Jesus, she's going to tell that story again. But I'm telling
it's a good story.
When I started to march my little behind from HRC to the quad for that opening festivities for the new freshman class of 99, and I'm bopping up there, do, 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 do. and I get out there and I saw that ocean of whiteness,
Mm.
all that confidence went like that. I
Mhm.
was like, oh, hell no. No, no,
Mama.
no. I was like, no, ma'am. I'd never seen anything like that before in my life. And I was like, I thought I got it. Like I said, I went to Catholic school. I was one of the only black kids in the classroom. I know what this is like. No, no,
No.
I didn't. No, I did not. And I stood there and I was like, I'm going to go back to my room and stay there. I don't have to do all this stuff, right? I'll just go to class Monday. I don't have to do this, right?
I don't have to do none of this.
Oh, God. But I was like, okay, go. And I'm walking between different groups to get to looking for my seminar. And it's like, that scene from The Birds, that Hitchcock movie at the very end, after the birds rampage and tear up the house and kill folks. And then they're sitting outside, just not moving, just walking around. And the family is trying to escape. So they're walking real, real slow and real, real gingerly. And like, click, open the car door, don't swing it fast, no sudden movements.
Right.
That's exactly how I felt walking on the quad.
Mm.
Like, don't agitate these folks. Don't have them jump up and start attacking you, tear you to pieces like the birds. Move slowly. Don't make no noise. Find your seat. Sit down quietly. Was how I felt. And
Wow.
that was the introduction for me to the next 4 years. Everything after that is a whirlwind. Because so much comes at a sheltered kid like me so fast.
Mm.
I could go to parties in high school. I was that nerdy kid. I went to basketball practice. I went.
Wow. You're
That's all I
you're that freshman on
Yes.
campus.
So I'm like, we're going to the frat party. I'm like on TV? Like in the movies?
We could go to a frat party.
I was like, oh, okay. Like that, everything for me was brand new. Everything. So everything was amazing. Everything was terrifying. But thrilling and exciting, like being on a roller coaster. And I don't know, as hard as I tried, I don't know that I fully got really comfortable with myself and who I was until years after Colgate. I was always so impressed with the folks who I felt like they knew who they were, and maybe that was an illusion because they seemed so much more mature than me. But it was years after Colgate when I kind of had to sort through all the pieces of myself. I'm like, okay, who are you? Who are you really? Wasn't until well after that, but that was an incredibly formative time. Like it was 4 years. What didn't happen? Like, that's how I feel when I think about it. It's hard to pull things out.
Is there anything that jumps out as just like in their personal milestones now that you're going through the post culture shock and then the whirlwind's happening and obviously time is moving and year 1, year 2, year 3, but any 1 or 2 memories that jump out as this sense of accomplishment or achievement or not just a sense of I can do this, but where you personally felt like you excelled?
Well, I think there was one, but it came after what I thought was a tremendous failure. And that was I did play varsity basketball. I was on the team for a year, and I quit my sophomore year. And I did because I wasn't going to play pro ball. Obviously, there was no WNBA then, and even if there was, I wasn't going. Like it wasn't like that. And there was so much I wanted to do at the time. I fancied myself pre-med. I just knew I was going to be a doctor. Just knew that I was. So I'm taking biology classes. I remember standing in the middle of, oh my God, in the middle of fields, picking, what the hell were we looking at? I don't remember. where we're standing out like knee deep in waders and water and looking at different plants. I'm like, what am I doing? What is this? Um, Chemistry classes, organic chemistry classes, rushing from the field house, way from Olin down to the field house, trying to go from lab to basketball practice without missing a second of either one. And then all my friends were joining a dance team. I can't dance. I never danced in my life, but I was going to do it with them, and we were all doing it together. But I was excited about something like that. I'm like, oh, I'll be on the dance team like those girls back in school when I wasn't cool enough to be with them, and now I can do it. There was so much coming and so much I wanted to taste and be part of. And basketball, to be quite honest, I was like, this is a job. They need to pay those children because I'm like, this is a job. Between classes and work and trying to excel and then doing this is work, not, isn't this super fun to play this sport? This is work. And that was women's basketball. So I think about the football players and the hours and hours and the multiple meetings and practices. At the time, I didn't appreciate it. I didn't appreciate it then. Years later, I was like, oh no, they need to pay these kids because that's a job and it's revenue generating. It's not fair. But for me, because it wasn't putting any money in my pockets and it wasn't,
she was like, peace.
There was no future in it for me. I was like, how much of my 4 years do I want to dedicate to this that can be all encompassing? And I quit sophomore year. It felt terrible. And I mean terrible. Because when you're on a team, you don't ever want to do that. You don't want to do that. You don't want to walk out on your teammates. You don't want to make things harder for them. They were sweet girls, you know. And so I felt terrible. I felt awful. Simultaneously, though, it was a huge relief to not have that anymore. And I felt guilty about feeling relieved. So sophomore year for me was hard, just navigating that. And so I bring that up because I think it taught me subsequently some things about myself. And that was one, I can trust myself. I do know what I'm doing. When you're young, it's difficult to do that. It's a lot of second guessing, and it's a lot of other folks wouldn't say that was a good idea, so it must not be.
And a lot of other second guessing you because you're so young. Yes.
Yes. But what I learned from that was I had everything within me to know what was making sense for me and what wasn't. And that if I chose myself, it would always be the right decision. Everybody else would be all right. And that's something I have to do now as an adult when things get to be too much.
That's a blessing to learn it at that age. To your point, many of us don't learn that until a lot later in life. Anything about those years that you miss?
No. Is that terrible? No.
I think you are the first to say no.
Right.
But we are about first in this place, so there's nothing wrong with that. But that's what's up.
It's funny because it was in graduate school, actually. When I went to graduate school at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, went to the journalism program for medical journalism in 2001. And I got a full ride park fellowship, very prestigious award. So again, this high caliber education at this renowned university, and it was going to cost me nothing. I've done that twice. So pat myself on the back for that. And I was at grad school at the gym. Now this is the Tar Heels. So the gym for us mortals who were not on any of the teams was still world class
compared to what we were seeing at Colgate, definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm here at this university with this fellowship, getting a stipend. I'm in this world class gym. I'm not paying for any of it. And I'm going to class and I'm trying to teach myself this trade and get experience. And there was this moment when I just was sitting there like, this is never going to happen again. When I leave here, I'm going to have to pay for everything. I'm not going to be able to just shuttle
Mm-hmm.
from one amazing thing to another. I'm going to be out in the world. All of this goes away. Um, and that was like, oh, interesting. Um, where even for a moment I was like, maybe what I need is a PhD. Maybe that's what I need. But I didn't. I was ready to get out of school, to be quite honest. And I think that's why I don't necessarily miss anything from those years. Um, I was a good student. I was always a good student. Doing school is what I knew how to do. I was very good at school. And so I thought if I had to, I'll just keep doing school. But there just came this point where it was like, I'm done.
That's enough
Uh,
school. What'd you
and
major in?
I majored in English at
English major.
Colgate. I did a lot of things willy nilly. There are things I would do very differently, I think, knowing what I know now. But I majored in English because at the time I thought I was going to be Perry Kless, who, if you've never heard of, was like this well known pediatrician and writer. She wrote books. I was like, that's going to be me. So
Hmm.
I figured I don't want to major in the hard sciences because I'm not that interested. I'm not um, dying to spend every waking minute reading about biology or chemistry. But writing, reading, delving into fictional landscapes, that was very exciting to me. However, a moment ago I was talking about learning that I could trust myself. Hadn't learned that lesson yet. I learned that lesson yet.
Mm.
What I really wanted to do was African
Mm.
American studies. That's what I really wanted to do. But second guess myself and convince myself that option was not on the table because what are you going to get? How can you get a job in African American studies? What
Mm.
kind of thing could you do? Those are the kinds of questions I asked myself because I didn't know any
Mm.
better. And because I couldn't answer that question, second guessing, not trusting my deeply held instinct, which was that's what I want to do, I didn't do that. And I did something that I thought would make me interesting as eventually a medical school applicant. That's what I did.
So we're gonna take a pause right here so
Mhm.
we can show some love to our sponsor, and then we're gonna come back and hear more about how trusting yourself,
Mm.
how that lesson has informed your journey, and hear a little bit about where you've been and who you are right now.
So this episode is sponsored by Hope Murals. Hope Murals is a nonprofit that provides adolescent youth with an interactive experience of creative expression via an urban arts platform that stimulates both mental and physical development. Please visit their website at www.hopemurals.org to learn more and find ways you can support the work they do.
Welcome back, everyone. As always, want to show some love to our sponsor, Hope Murals. Definitely appreciate what you are doing with our adolescent youth. If you want to be a sponsor, please email us at aftergatepodcast@gmail.com. Want to also show some love to our network, Defy Life Network. That is the hub for all of the podcast shows. Check that out at defylifepods.com. If you are interested in written content, check out defylife.com. Website at www.godefylife.com and branded apparel at defylifegear.com. And remember, if you are not defying life, then what is your life about? That's what we about around here. Now, let me pass it over to Jerry. Lead us into our second half of this conversation and hit her up with the question, please, my brother.
So with the debate across the country on understanding the impact of critical race theory and how it's evolved into this, discussion that has been completely manipulated and twisted into even understanding what it is and why there's such a need for it, but why so many people are opposed. Can you enlighten our listeners and give us a little perspective on what's your take on the issue? And
Well, what I think is very heartbreaking, honestly, is the dishonesty around even talking about this issue and framing critical race theory again, something that is a framework for thinking about, talking about, researching, getting empirical data, thinking about how we have talked about race, formed policy around race, and how those political and cultural practices have led us to exactly where we are when it comes to a lot of things, all the way to the climate. Like how we have dealt with race and race issues has color, colored how a lot of things are happening right now. And if you ignore the context, you just draw all kinds of wrong conclusions. What's happening in Haiti right now is a direct consequence of how the United States and European nations handled it when the Haitians said, "We are not slaves." Fought and won their independence. They won. They beat off the most powerful countries in the world at the time, and the world has been punishing that island nation for it ever since. If you don't know anything about history, you don't understand that. And then you draw ridiculous conclusions like, well, it's just a poor country where the people are really bad at running their nation, and that's why they're in the trouble they're in. That's the conclusion you can draw when you don't have facts. And you don't have the facts because they're purposely not taught to you.
On that note,
that would be what we refer to as a mic drop moment. And I think, Jerry, I need another sound effect.
Yeah, well, we gotta get our tech game up.
I'm gonna see what I can do on that. Bang, bang, bang. So what I would like to know now, do us that favor, and you kind of gave us a sense of what Colgate was like. Now I'd like to hear kind of what life was like after Colgate.
Yeah.
How'd
So,
you get to be the person you are now?
that is the deep question of the soul and the spirit. It take you eons to answer questions like that. I think as difficult as though those years are, and I say that because as for me, I did a lot of growing up super fast at Colgate and after, because again, there's things that folks had experienced in high school, right, that I didn't experience till I got to college. Um, and one of the things that we had talked about previously was this really starting to get a sense of who I was and what I valued and what was important to me. Um, and instead of what had been drilled into me that I thought was supposed to be important, like make sure you get those good grades and make sure you get that good job and make sure everybody thinks that you're smart and upstanding. Those are the things that I believed were important. But what was important to me was a sense of, frankly, pride in myself, in my community, my people, and also a deep, I mean, it's Colgate. Like it's a liberal arts education. You want to know all the things. That's why you go, right? So there were things that I just wanted to know and understand, which is why I believe I was interested in majoring in African American studies, because just, you know, early semesters, just getting exposed to different classes and readings that I hadn't been before started to prompt all of these questions. I mean, just doing the what was that stuff we had to do? The core
general education.
Yes.
Gen Ed, 4 damn semesters of that shit. Oh, my bad.
Exactly that. But walking into those classes where now I'm going to read the Iliad and the Odyssey. And again, for a nerd like me, it was fascinating because it was these epic stories. And, you know, I could see them unfold in my mind, like watching an action movie. So there was
I couldn't.
I got it. I get it. But I felt that. But at the same time, I was like, why are we reading these things?
Hmm.
And what aren't we reading instead? And why is this so important? Is it really that important? Um, I took because I wound up majoring in English. I took an African literature class um, that was being offered, and I read Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart. I don't remember who the author was, but I read a folk um, story novel, The Palm Wine Drinkard. But it was completely different from things that I had read previously, and that, like you, Jerry, felt like we have to keep reading. We do four semesters of this. We do this complete departure, and then I took an African American literature class with a white professor. But that class
Oh,
blew my
oh,
mind. I'm reading Toni Morrison again, like with more nuance than I did in high
Right.
school when I just
For
kind of
real this time.
found her on accident. Yes, like when I found her on accident on a shelf at the library and felt like I had just fallen into this world where, frankly, people like me actually exist, unlike the other things I had read prior to that. And then being exposed to all of that, and then the questions and the thoughts and the feelings coming hard and fast when I'm just looking around going, why is this like this? And who says it's supposed to be like this? And why do people believe these things? And why do these kids think these things about us? And why do we think these things about ourselves? All of these things. Um, and that's I, honestly at Colgate, which was not Howard, where um, I could have gone and did not ultimately go, that I got in touch with that black fist raised that I had had in me my whole life, but I didn't know. I couldn't
mm,
articulate um, and didn't realize. I started to gather facts and knowledge that I just didn't have before that started to fill in blanks and fill in pieces for me. When I went to graduate school, I went to graduate school to become a journalist in part because I still loved writing. And I had that drive and desire to ask questions of the people who should know and can deliver answers to folks like me who otherwise may not have the access. And I went to graduate school, and that's where I met who is one of my dearest friends in the world to this day, right now, as we speak, Nicole Hannah Jones, who many of you know is the creator of the 1619 Project from the New York Times.
Hmm.
And I met her in graduate school, and to be in communion with this sister who would talk about the things she writes about now, and having those conversations with her where I felt like someone finally got
hmm,
how I felt about all these things, and not only got how I felt, but had all these facts and information and historical understanding to validate some of the things that I thought, but I didn't have. I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the background to be able to say, I know I'm right about this. I felt like I was, but I didn't know. And then to talk to her and this plethora of historical information and study that she had done, even at that age, back then, I was like, oh my God. Like I felt like I knew somebody out there would get this, understand, that I could talk to about these things and finally feel, frankly, validated. Like I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Um, and that was a blessing. And
hmm, hmm,
to present day, where in my daily, regular, domestic life, married, raising two little kids, twins, and just going to work every day, paying the mortgage, where I'm um, not a journalist. I did work in newspapers for a number of years before I kind of transitioned off that track once it was clear that the model was not going to make it much longer, or certainly not in the incarnation that of its heyday. And so now I work in medical education, and I work with medical associations to deliver educational programming to physicians so they can maintain their certifications, maintain their continuing medical education credits. Um, and it works for me because I get to be involved with latest science. And again, talking to the folks who should know these things, who are doing the research, getting those answers and delivering them to folks who don't. So I'm still doing
Mhm.
that. Um,
Hmm.
but my heart and passion is still with, it's liberation. It's liberation for the people of this land. And in that vein, I'm still working with my dear friend Nicole and helping her bring to fruition a dream she's had of launching a literacy program for kids in her hometown of Waterloo, Iowa. And she tapped me to help her and her group of wonderful Black women who are working on this project. And these brilliant women who are making this happen, to help her bring that to fruition. And I was terribly humbled. I was so grateful to be part of this program that teaches literacy. And the mission and the belief here is that literacy is the bedrock, is the linchpin of education and all your academic endeavors. And then, therefore, whatever you do once you're done with school, that
Mhm.
it starts with that foundation. And
Mhm.
the approach is to provide students with it's literacy. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about reading,
Mhm.
writing, comprehension,
Mhm.
but with materials that center Black people in the Black experience and doesn't shy away from actual factual history for children. And
Mhm.
I think about how life changing that would have been for me in fourth grade, um,
Mhm.
having access to some of this then, rather than not getting it until college, which I
Mhm.
think is the experience for a lot of us.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so I'm just thrilled and grateful to have the opportunity to create something like this, because where we're sitting right now with the nightmare at the border, the disrespect of our Haitian brothers and sisters, all our dark skinned brothers and sisters who try to immigrate here, how we treat the planet, the continued brutality against us, the let's go all the way back to immediately post Civil War where we just eroded all your rights and gains. Let's just all
Mhm.
retreat back there. All of those efforts, all of those efforts are based in this ignorance, this
Mhm.
national ignorance and lack of knowledge of how things actually happened, and therefore why things are actually the
Mhm.
way that they are. When you have that
Mhm.
understanding, you can see the matrix.
Oh yeah.
Then, when people start saying nonsense, it's easy to go, oh, that's ridiculous. When you can't see the matrix, people lie to your face and you'll repeat it like it's the truth.
This is where I need my drop the mic sound effect. I would actually be pushing it twice right now.
With bombs and yeah, for sure, for sure. So with that said, and I love the analogy with the Matrix because I can see creating a Matrix like presentation for orientation of students of entering freshmen at Colgate, particularly students of color,
Mm.
and understanding the matrix in the world in the context of it in Hamilton, New York. With that being said, what would you say to a 18-year-old Joy going into Colgate now about life and what to maybe advice would you give her, and what would you say to Joy at 21 exiting Colgate going into the world, based on both knowledge Colgate experience and what you know now about life? What would be some of those gems that you would drop?
Well, to 18-year-old Joy just starting out in school, I would tell her, I don't know if she'd believe me, but I would tell her, do what you want.
Mm,
Don't worry so much about what you think other people will think, especially 4, 5, 6 years from now. What are you interested in? Then learn everything you want to learn about that, and don't be shy about it. Feel that hunger for that
mm,
knowledge. the purpose of college is not to get out and get a good job. You can do that after high school. That's not why you go, and certainly not why you go to a liberal arts college. That's not why you're there. You go there to fill your head with knowledge you previously did not have access to, and you pick the brains of the brilliant professors and other brilliant students to learn more. That's why you go. You build those chops and you build that network. If you weren't fortunate enough to be taught critical thinking and researching at a younger age, learn it now, and focus on that. That's what I would tell going in. And have fun. Have more fun. Just have more fun. Stop trying to be the good kid. Have more fun. You'll never get another chance to just muck it up and then go home and be like, oh, well, I'm fine. Have more fun. Go a little wild. You'll be okay. And then 21-year-old me, I would say save your money, because the whole get out of school, get a job, and then work till you die. No, ma'am. No. No, ma'am. Because there's too much world to see. There's too much to be done. There's too many people who need many, many things. There's too many fights to fight for you to spend all your time grinding out wealth for somebody else. I swear, like, I feel like there needs to be like a junior year seminar where you just get the kids together and be like, okay, whatever it is you want to do, yeah. But here's how you, whatever coins you earn, here's how you make them work so that you're not spending your entire adult life earning these coins to pay these bills. That is backwards. Don't do that.
How to make $1 out of 15 cents.
Oh, yes. Like, that is one thing I wish I had known then rather than now, because if I did, I don't think I would be working at all. There's too many things to do. There's too many things I want to do. And there's too many, like I said, there's too much work that needs to be done. There's so much need. And then, if you decide to have a family, they need you. And to always be like, go sit over here so I can work. No, like, that's no, but that's not how I would do things if I felt like if I had the ability to do whatever I wanted. So I would tell 21-year-old me, you will make money. You're smart. You are dedicated. You over deliver. All of that'll be fine. But when you do get it, make it work now. And then in 20 years, you won't even have to worry about it, as opposed to me, where it's like, got to pay this mortgage.
So before we wrap up, we always ask a question that is related somehow to Colgate that you had no idea we were asking. And so you did kind of touch on it. So I'm curious to know, we've all shared our study abroad. We wish we had studied abroad. So my question to you is, knowing what you know now, if you could have gone somewhere, where would you have liked to have gone?
For study abroad?
To study abroad while you was at Colgate.
Oh, well, if I could have gone to anywhere in West Africa, Ghana, Benin, I would have been like, put me on the first plane, knowing what I know now.
Were there study groups there?
No.
I think the only one that I knew of was Nigeria. And I don't know if they still have it, but
well, I know. But there was study abroad programs to some of the Caribbean islands, which would have been magnificent.
Yes.
Quite all right. I'll settle.
Quite. I just would have wanted to go where we were and where we were the majority. A bunch of my friends went to Wales, and I was so chicken, such a chicken. I didn't go. I was like, I don't want to study whatever they were doing, and I didn't get that. Didn't matter. Just go.
Right. Just go.
Go there. That's the experience. So, since Colgate, when I do go back or when I do student events through AOC,
Mm-hmm.
or when somebody sends a student my way to talk to. Those three things are the things that I tell all of them. I'm always like, don't worry about what your mama wants you to be when you get out of college. Study what you want to study. One.
Mm-hmm.
Two, don't worry about, I need to get a respectable job and look important because I went to this fancy school. Nobody cares about that. And if they do, they're not living your life. Don't worry about that. Save your money. That's two. And three, go abroad. Study abroad, take advantage of the opportunity. Don't really
Mm-hmm.
care where, just go. Those are the three things that,
Mhm.
knowing what I know now, I that's what I would have done, and that's what I tell every student someone sends my way.
Okay. Last thing before we get out of this is here's your chance to promote. We want to use Aftergate as a platform to share some of the initiatives, the endeavors we have, so that other alumni can support you, get in contact with you. Anything you want to promote, here's your chance.
Well, I'm crazy and am working and also a business owner.
Nice.
So I launched my own little firm, Black Ink Communications, about 2 years ago, right before the whole world changed in the pandemic. And I do project managements like I'm doing for Nicole in the 1619 Freedom School. Just really good at helping you get your ducks in a row, dotting your I's, cross all your T's, and I'm particularly interested in helping um, uh, organizations run by people of color get their stuff together so they can serve their missions.
Mhm.
Um, and then I want everybody to check out the 1619 Freedom School. So that's 1619freedomschool.org. Go to the websites, learn more about the program. The curriculum will be made open source in the next year so that folks have access to it. And ultimately, we'd like to start launching these types of literacy programs all around the country. So follow us, stay in touch. Because again, with a lot of Colgate alums and a lot of educators out there, I think there may be some leaders here who could make that
Hmm.
happen in their communities,
Hmm.
and we want to provide the resources to help do that.
One more time, give us those two websites. We are getting old up here, so
Of course. So you can reach me at J Harrington at blackinkcom.com. So JHARRINGTON at BLACKINKCOMM.com. And then check out the 1619 Freedom School at 1619freedomschool.org.
Bomb diggity.
diggity. We are keeping our streak intact in terms of these awesome interviews. So, Joy, we appreciate spending this time with you and hearing your story. Thank you very much for being on Navigate.
Thank you guys
Certainly
for having
appreciate
me.
you. This wraps up another amazing episode of Aftergate. Thank you, Diane. Thank you to our listeners. Make sure you check out this podcast and other podcasts on all of your favorite streaming services, from Spreaker to Spotify to Apple Podcasts. You can find Aftergate. So please check us out. We're going to have more dope episodes to follow. Peace, family.
Take care, Joy.
Shh. You hear that? Listen closer. That, my friend, is the deafening sound of focus. It drowns out all the useless noise that can clutter the moment. Naysayers don't exist. Haters? Smaters? The peanut gallery? Who's that? When you in your zone, all that noise and all that buzz is just elevator music. So, enjoy your journey, focus on your goal, and bask in the quiet roar that is progress. Because when it's your time to shoot that shot, spit that verse, or close that deal, the only voice that matters is yours. Defy life.